By the time I step through the door, exhaustion feels like it's weighing me down. At night, I curl into the edge of my bed, where silence is louder than any crowd. And I think, how can I feel so alone in a city that never sleeps?
Tới lúc 3 tuần đó, em rất là nhớ nhà.
Mình đi ra Hà Nội một mình và mình cũng cảm thấy có hơi lo sợ và hơi tủi thân một chút.
Later, I realized that I wasn't alone in feeling this way. 67% of freshmen feel lost and disconnected in their first month, and I was one of them, stepping off the bus into a sea of strangers. And that's when I stumbled upon Daniel Goleman's work on emotional intelligence, or EQ, in the emotional intelligence class at my school. It wasn't just about managing emotion, it was about understanding them, naming them, and breathing through them. Then I discovered positive intelligence, or BQ. It was a way to require my brain to focus on the good, even when everything felt overwhelming. And research showed that it can increase resilience by 36%. Together, EQ and BQ became my tools. They didn't fix everything right away, but they gave me a way forward. They helped me to find a way out of silence and towards something real. But even after learning all of this, I needed something more practical. So I began a ritual. Every morning I sat with my journal and wrote 3 honest words: anxious, hopeful, and ready. No filters, no pretensions, just truth. And somehow that simple habit made me feel seen, by myself at least. And whenever anxiety crept back in, I stopped. I looked up, felt something beautiful around me, the sky, a tree, and I breathed in then out, just 3 slow seconds in and out. Well, it didn't change the world instantly, but it changed how I moved through it. I feel less tense, more grounded, and more present in each moment. And little by little, they built a bridge between loneliness and connection. And they helped me show up more calmly, more openly, and more me. One day, when I least expected it, my phone buzzes a message. For a moment, I froze. 1,000 doubts flooded my mind. What if it's awkward? What if I said the wrong thing? But then I remembered what I had learned. I paused, I took a deep breath and named the feeling, hope. And with shaking hands, I tied back. That wasn't a grand moment, but it was a moment where I chose to take a step into something real. And suddenly, those small sparks of connection began to form. And because real connection doesn't begin with fireworks, it began with tiny, ordinary sparks, moment when you almost miss if you're afraid to look. And that day, I didn't miss it. I said yes, and everything began to change. It just happens. But now I know friendship is built. It's a choice, over and over. And it begins with something simple, love. Not the dramatic kind of love, but the soft, steady kind that says, I see your mess, but I'm not living. And with love as my compass, I stopped walking in circles, and I began to cross bridges, timidly at first, until one day I looked around and realized I wasn't alone anymore. One rooftop, one sunset, laughter echoing through the wind. I just didn't need a crowd. I just needed to feel safe enough to be myself. And it all began with a hello. Not a perfect one, but just a brave one. That one word rewrote my story. So maybe not. You're sitting in your room, the city feels so big, the silence too loud. But here's a thought. What if your story could begin with a hello too? That's the end. That's the start. of your story.